What's going on, YouTube? We're back at it for another video, and today we're going to be talking about Battlefield 2042. Kind of give my first impressions, some things I like, some things I don't like. There's quite a lot when it comes to this game, and over my close to 20 hours of gameplay so far, I'm kind of just split 50-50 on it. There's things about it that I definitely thoroughly enjoy, and I'm definitely down to jump back into more than a few matches, continue to play, and really enjoy my time inside of it. But there are things that are holding this back. There's more than a few bugs. Server stability is, well, it's hopefully getting better. Doesn't exactly seem like it is, but this can cause for a lot of problematic moments. Now, I know a lot of people out there possibly haven't picked this up yet. It is only in early access right now for their deluxe edition or whatever you want to call it. I shelled this out thinking, oh yeah, this is definitely going to be a game I'm going to want to jump in on early, get a few videos in on, maybe make some content, but overall just enjoy my time with this game. Now, for the most part, when it comes to Battlefield games, all the way back to 1942 up until now, a lot of times sniping was the biggest thing that I enjoyed out of this game. It just felt therapeutic to me, just pop out that folding chair, crack open a cold one, and just go hunting. For whatever reason, with this one, if you're a big sniper fan, this can be great in this game for the sheer mass scale of a lot of these maps. There's a lot of different points you can kind of hold, go for some long shots, trick shots, whatever you're really down for. There's more than a few options to work with, a lot of areas that you could just post up on and just have a good time in general. Not exactly probably helping the team, but I know as personally enjoying the sniping life myself. I'm not about taking the hard points in those moments. I'm just about taking some souls. But that being said, the first sniper rifle you start off with, it's not the worst sniper rifle, but like I said before, server stability has been a real issue. And not only with rubber banding or not even being able to join certain games due to whatever issue that they have going on right now that I still run into. Even though we're 2 days in, you'd think they'd get on the ball a little bit quicker than this, especially for people that shelled out extra money just to play this early. But at the same time, I couldn't think of even one game in the past few years or even since 2012. I mean, I still look back to Diablo 3 and how that server was just not available immediately on launch. But a lot of games that are multiplayer or live service eventually are just going to have server issues at the very beginning. And sadly enough, since we've paid this extra, we're just getting the brunt of it right now. And I imagine on day one launch, it could possibly be even worse since we're still not even at full capacity of how many people that will be playing this game are online yet. But that being said, the rubber banding can be a real issue, not only as playing as a ground unit, but even in the aircraft itself. I've had a few moments where I've crashed into things because of the rubber banding, including other aircraft. It can be very frustrating, as well as hits not registering, that going for the missiles that you shoot, the tanks, and all the way down to your guns themselves. And that's where I was kind of leading off to with this statement with the sniping. So there are some moments where you may have landed your shot, but it's not exactly registering. The character model on the other end of you that you're looking at, possibly not even where they're at in general, or the server hasn't caught up to it, or it's lagging behind. Server stability is one of the biggest issues with this game right now. A lot of people will talk about other things like the classes not really being up to par, not what they really wanted. It's just not other Battlefield games, Well, one thing to keep in mind, so if you're not interested in the Battlefield 2042 portion of this game, Portal is on the other side of this. And I believe this is going to be one of those things that inevitably will sell this game to just about any fan of Battlefield, maybe even other people that haven't exactly been through every single Battlefield through the franchise, but there was one specific one, Battlefield 3, Bad Company, 1942. Portal's what's going to be that remastered version of every other game that Battlefield has produced to this point. You'll have every one of the assets from it, including maps, guns, classes, vehicles, anything from those games, you name it, it's in that mode and it's in a sandbox for you to play around with and create your own modes, create your own fights. I've already played some where it's players versus zombies. Now, wasn't exactly the greatest thing, but this is only a couple of days in. We haven't gotten everybody into it to create their own game modes and really work with it and fine tune the things that will eventually make Portal itself probably the stable for Battlefield 2042 and create a large amount of popularity with it and overall enjoyment of the game. Now, that being said, that may be one of the key selling moments is that every other Battlefield is getting remastered into this game and available to play in this game. But some people maybe not interested. Maybe they've just come into the Battlefield franchise, haven't really played much of it, seen it before, but not really given it a chance. Is this a good one to start off with? Arguably, yes, considering you do have the Portal feature where maybe there were some Battlefields you missed, and you can or for the first time enjoy them like everyone else enjoyed them previously. Now, I know a lot of people are criticizing this game for a lot of different reasons. I mean, I could go into the list, but a lot of times I feel like every Battlefield that has come out, people just shit talk it into the ground. They're like, this is wrong, that's wrong, DICE, what have you done again? I mean, we've seen it across many franchises how, you could argue the same thing for Call of Duty every year. There's just a massive amount of people that are like, yeah, it's not this Call of Duty, it's not that Call of Duty. Same thing happens with Battlefield, even though they may argue amongst each other that one's a simulator and one's an arcade shooter. There's always going to be an argument for both sides on any title that comes out like this, and right now people are mad about the fact that there's no scoreboard. And one thing I'm definitely completely frustrated with is the fact that there's no voice comms. Why in a game of this massive scale that there is no voice comms when it really takes a large amount of coordination when pushing from hard point to hard point to capture, possibly push against other enemies. Maybe there's anti-air somewhere that somebody needs to take out from the ground. You even just need to work with your squad mates in a random queued match. Not everybody's going to be up in Discord. They could just be randomly queuing in or possibly in a party chat if you're on console. And since this is crossplay, that really affects those players that maybe one of your buddies is on PC and the other one's on some type of console. They're not exactly going to be able to join up in a group call as easy as it would have been if they could just squad up inside of the game and talk amongst the game itself. Considering if you're on console, you're more than likely going to have to use Discord from your phone, your laptop, some other type of device, and that's going to take away from your ability to hear in-game. And if you got to play it through the TV, we all hate that guy with a hot mic that we can hear their TV through their mic. Or at the same point, you'll have headphones on talking to your buddies, and if that TV doesn't get picked up from your mic, you still won't be able to hear it as well either. Now, that being said, kind of transition into the next issue, which is sound quality. It's good on a lot of areas, but when it comes to footsteps in general, you'll hear what sounds like probably 30 people all around you pretty much anywhere you go where there's more than a few enemy. There could be 5 different enemies on the other side of a wall or even like 40 meters off, and it just sounds like you're completely inside of a marching band where that doesn't play their instruments. It's just foot stomping everywhere, and it starts echoing as well. Not exactly sure how they ended up going about that route when it came to that. But I'll tell you right now, footsteps, you can't hear which direction they're coming from. It just sounds like it's all around you. There's no directional hearing when it comes to that. Even gunfire at sometimes just sounds like it's all around you as well. There's no clear direction from where that's coming from. Tracers at times is hard to see. It's either too quick or it just doesn't make a lingering kind of effect, which arguably isn't the worst thing. Could end up being a little bit more realism to it, but for a lot of times it's just a bit frustrating when you can't exactly see where some fire is coming from, or you can't hear from where it's coming from, or you can't hear where the enemy's marching at you from. This can end up for poor gameplay, and like I said, with the voice comms being disabled, if you're working with your squad but you're not able to talk with them and you're pushing into an area, you drop dead at the back, there's some guy pushing up behind them. You can't even tell them that that's going down, and more than likely, if they're facing the opposite direction, they're not going to see it, and they're going to get ripped by that one guy behind you. That's extremely frustrating. Destroys a bit of the quality of the gameplay, and overall just ends up being a giant clusterfuck when it comes to most of the gameplay. Since there's no real coordination going on, you're either going in with your vehicle, you're going in to just capture a point, you're dropping into certain locations. People could be dropping dead left and right of you with one enemy just moving around, and you just have no idea. You just be hearing the gunfire, which sounds like every other portion of the map, considering there's, 64 versus 64 on either side. There's always something going on, and it almost just drowns out whatever directional hearing you could possibly have, and anything that would give you a skillful advantage when it comes to listening in to the surroundings and giving you that tactical advantage. Well, that being said, the game does look beautiful. The large landmass on each map is quite nice, but you will find yourself at the beginning of each map playing a Lord of the Rings simulator, as one of my buddies has said previously. And I'd have to argue with agreement on it. You will find yourself at certain times, if you're not spawning on squad mates, or even at the beginning of the mission, if you don't spawn into a vehicle or get into a vehicle with someone else, you're going to be making a long run to the first hard point to grab up. And then from that point forward, you'll be running a lot more. Even from hard point to hard point, you're going to find yourself running what feels like almost 5 minutes, until possibly running into a full squad or 10 different people that are on top of that next hard point and just immediately die. I mean, all that time running all the way across some of these long stretches of road, different alleyways, to just end up dying. It can be extremely frustrating. Now, I love the fact that these are massive landscapes that you can crawl around on, have different avenues to go around, different places to kind of perch up on or jump from, and move to other portions of the map. And that's essentially what you'll need to be working with, is getting up to a high point and then jumping off, parachuting, or wingsuiting with one specific character over to the next area, or grabbing a different vantage point from that point. Now, if you're not into running or sprinting or things of that nature, and that could be problematic for you, that could be something that kind of destroys the Battlefield 2042 portion of the maps. Now, other maps that will be in Portal are a bit smaller in scale, could work more to your play style or enjoyment of the game. That could be something to look into. Now, where was I? I always do these in one take, and sometimes they get lost. And I think it is kind of fitting that I am just slowly dying off right here. But as you notice from the gameplay, the game looks beautiful. This is on a not exactly high-end PC. I do have, I guess, what you'd call a medium build PC, something it's above the next-gen consoles, but it's not quite top tier. And it looks pretty darn good. If you're running on a 2070 Super, that's what I'm running on. This is going to run perfectly fine for you. I've had no graphical issues in any way. Not exactly running everything in ultra, but at the same point, it's running perfectly fine, and it's running above 60 frames per second. Don't exactly know if it's maintaining 120 at all times, but I'd say roughly about 100 at 1080p is what I'm generally running on this. Now, that being said, when it comes to last-gen consoles, I've had a buddy that played on this, and, well, he said it wasn't looking too good. If you're not on next-gen consoles, and one thing to be noted, if you're on last gen console and you have somebody that's on PC, me and my buddy found that we were not able to find each other, and that it seems as though last gen consoles can crossplay with themselves. So Xbox and PlayStation, they can play with each other when it comes to the last gen consoles, but next gen consoles of Xbox and PlayStation can play with PC. Does not seem like PC can play with the last gen consoles. That's what ended up happening today. Very frustrating. If you have buddies that are trying to play this with you and you're solely buying it to play it with them that are possibly on PC and you're on last gen, or vice versa, that is something that I would say is going to destroy the whole purpose of you grabbing this game up. That's one thing to keynote. Sadly, that seems how it goes. Maybe that has caused some of the issues within this game and server stability. The simple fact that not all of us are playing on the same version of the game, and the graphic quality on consoles that are last gen are not quite good. But next gen, I will say, I know for a fact they are looking either just under as good as what you're seeing right now, or just as good as what we're playing on right now, since most last gen console or next gen consoles should be close to the same equivalent of what my PC is running at when it comes to the specs right now. Now, that being said, obviously there's a bunch of classes. Finally, they opened up versatility with them. You will still get special abilities, certain gadgets with each one of the classes or characters that you choose, but when it comes down to the class loadout itself, it's not like previous Battlefields where you'll be stuck with an assault rifle or stuck with a shotgun on an engineer, or just closed in on what your options are based on what your class is. So with this one, they opened up the versatility, gave you the ability to create your own loadout, pick up whatever weapon. If you wanted to be a healer that's also a sniper, you can do that, and I personally enjoy that myself. Now, I've heard from other people in other videos that this kind of destroys the purpose of classes in a way, not exactly in the sense that it pretty much defeats the ability to use these things, but that it destroys the teamwork aspect of it. Say someone's just running where they're an engineer, but they don't essentially know it. Maybe they're new to Battlefield, or they played it a few times, but in general they're just focused on the weapon and the loadout that they prepared. They just chose a character at random. You could be trying to, you try to tell them to drop you ammo, but obviously there's no voice comms in this, and you can't exactly get that done. And calling out for it, they're not going to be listening for it because they're not playing that class, and they're not even thinking about it because they've already built out what they wanted to play with, and the added benefits to what character they chose are not something they're generally going to purposely use for everyone else or even think about. So that's one thing to keep in mind, but I do enjoy the versatility that is opened up for giving you the ability to have whatever weapon you want. Maybe you want a rocket launcher, maybe you want an anti-air launcher, you want grenades, you want plates. I enjoy that that is all openly accessible between every character that you choose, creating your own class in a way. Now, they have still 4 classes that you can set up that say assault, engineer, things of that nature, but they don't define what your loadout's going to be or what your character is going to be able to utilize. It's the character itself that you choose to play as that has that special ability or gadget that can help your team or help yourself as well. That being said, man, okay, where were we? So I have definitely, we're going on 20 minutes now, and it's like I'm trying to remember what I said. I never script these things. I'm always just a one-take person. Sometimes I get a bit lost when it comes to that. What do we finish this at? Are we finished out with it? Is this something else? I love flying in this game. By far, my favorite aspect of this game. I think this is going to be my new favorite thing of every single Battlefield going forward if they do this. Helicopters, I just cannot get enough of this when it comes to the attack chopper, the little Black Hawk as well. it is an absolute thrill ride, and being able to fly them now in the beginning, it will be a probably a problematic experience for a lot of people, considering you're going to have to use both sticks in unison to really control these aircraft quite well. The jet, it's very easy to use in my opinion. I mean, you're just going straight forward, you're thrusting. You could go into the VTOL mode and kind of hover above the ground. You'll need to be able to utilize that helicopter mechanic in that moment, but a lot of times people won't be essentially using that to kind of float around. They'll more than likely just be using it until they're ready to jet away and just hover in one spot. Now, I will say one of the most destructive vehicles in this game is the transport vehicles themselves. They have two miniguns and a grenade launcher underneath them, with an available 2 slots, I think, after that for just transporting people that can be sitting on either side of the aircraft, shooting out, or just in general using it as a spawn point above some of these hard points in order to capture them and flood people in, get more people on that so you can capture it faster, or just take out the adversaries that are around you. But those 2 miniguns and that grenade launcher can be almost essential when it comes to capturing a lot of these points, or even taking out other attack helicopters, Blackbirds in general. Those 2 miniguns have like a long time before they'll overheat, and they do pack quite a punch when it comes to other aircraft or general purpose ground troops on the ground. One thing to note, obviously those miniguns aren't going to work against tanks, something heavily armored on the ground, but they will work against the jeeps, the hovercraft. Can just inevitably blow them up as well. Would be good rule of thumb to take those out early as well, considering they have the same minigun that could take out your aircraft. But in my personal opinion, the transport vehicle is arguably one of the strongest plays to utilize inside of each one of these maps, and capturing some of the maps, or capturing some of the checkpoints. Just switch that over real quick. But like I said before, I love the little Black Hawk. It is arguably one of my favorite, my most favorite vehicles to use. And this is what really kind of keeps drawing me back in. The mass scale, the beauty of the game, it's nice, but when it comes to the rubber banding, some of the moments where if you're a ground troop, you're just constantly running until you possibly just die or run into a full-on squad. It can be nice, though, like I said before, with those cinematic moments where there's 20 of you just rushing up a hill, moving over to that first or that next hard point. Can make it a bit easier when you're just moving with the crowd, but if you're not moving with the crowd, you're kind of going on your own, solo lone wolf, it can just end up being a really problematic scene. It's just another one of those moments where I wish that voice comms were in here. Apparently they will be coming later on, but when you just can't coordinate with those other people to say, hey, we're going to this location, you can ping one of those hard points where you're looking to go for with your squad. But in general, casuals, people of that nature, they're just like bots. They're not exactly the most reliable players, and they're not always going to see that you've green outlined that next hard point that you're looking to capture along with other people. It's very irritating. But on an end note, if you're a Battlefield fan, if you've enjoyed Battlefield, or you've enjoyed any one particular Battlefield in general, you're more than likely going to enjoy this one. Maybe there's some things about it that are going to irk your nerves, but it's still going to give you that feeling of Battlefield. That Battlefield's always given other people, and I think this is the first time that I've ever really felt 100% immersion. There's so many moments in this game where it's almost like I have to take a step back and just look around where I'm at, what's going on. Can be a bit distracting at times, has gotten me killed more than a few times, but it's just really nice that the gameplay itself just has that cinematic quality and gives you that feeling of full immersion in a way. Now, the rubber banding and other server instability, things like that nature, can be problematic, and some of the explosions from some of the vehicles aren't exactly as detailed as I'd like them to be, but that's a side note. That's just nitpicking about it. A lot of times they will look pretty cool if you're on the ground, but Some of them, it's just kind of a, red flare. Few pieces fall off, but it mostly looks intact, and then it'll fall to the ground, and then it'll explode again after it's already fallen to the ground. But again, it's just nitpicking at that point. The core gameplay itself, enjoyable. The hits not registering for some of your guns can ruin a bit of the gameplay, so server instability is definitely one of the key issues that hopefully, by the time the full launch is here, will be fixed. But that's a fingers crossed moment, and the simple fact that not full capacity has come in and we're already crashing most of the server or at capacity on it, creating a lot of instability. Who knows what's going to happen, and more than likely we all know it's going to be another problematic day one. But on that note, hopefully this has helped you determine whether or not you enjoy playing this, or this is something you'd like to pick up. Maybe some of these keynotes, maybe this gameplay itself has helped you determine whether or not this is something you feel like you need to buy up. I would have showcased some of Portal, but I haven't played too much of it, and I think it's kind of self-explanatory. You'll see in the coming days more Portal videos as well, so I really would advise going and checking out more content, going and checking out more gameplay on this, looking at other people's detailed descriptions. Wouldn't exactly just go to Reddit straight off the bat, even though I know a lot of people will utilize that as a good avenue for a lot of feedback, but there's just a lot of white noise right now where people are just in general complaining like they always do on launch day of all of these games. They just have to be extremely nitpicky, and ideally I imagine there are people that focus on this game trying to be perfect rather than something that's enjoyable and playable. And that's the biggest issue. You're always going to have people like that. But on that note, hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know down in the comments if you're looking forward to this game. Have you played this game? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? If you want to see more gameplay like this, I'll have a link down in the description. Follow me over at Twitch. I'm streaming this for the next couple of days. Maybe some Halo Infinite tomorrow. Who knows? There's some rumors that we may have a Halo Infinite multiplayer tomorrow out. Who knows? But on that note, hope you guys have a good one. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. And yeah, have a good one.